The formation and work of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, was one of the most influential organizations in the American civil rights movement of the 1960s. Founded in 1960, the SNCC played a pivotal role in grassroots activism, challenging racial segregation and promoting social and political change through direct action and community organizing. Formation of the SNCC. The SNCC was born out of the wave of sit-ins that began in Greensboro, North Carolina, in February 1960, where 4 African American students protested segregation by sitting at a whites-only lunch counter. The success of these sit-ins inspired similar actions across the South, highlighting the energy and determination of young activists. Recognizing the need for coordination and organization, Ella Baker, a prominent civil rights leader and member of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, convened a meeting at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, in April 1960. This meeting brought together student activists from across the country, resulting in the creation of the SNCC. Unlike other civil rights groups, SNCC emphasized decentralized leadership and collective decision-making, reflecting the democratic values of its members. Key principles and strategies. SNCC adopted a philosophy of nonviolent direct action, inspired by the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi and the leadership of Martin Luther King Jr. While nonviolence was central to its early efforts, SNCC distinguished itself from other organizations by focusing on grassroots activism and empowering local communities. Key strategies included 1. Direct action protests, sit-ins, freedom rides, and other acts of civil disobedience to challenge segregation laws. 2. Voter registration, intensive efforts to register African Americans in the South, particularly in areas with systemic voter suppression. 3. Community organizing, establishing long-term relationships with local communities to build sustainable movements. Major activities and achievements. 1. Sit-ins and early direct action. SNCC's first major initiative was to continue the momentum of the sit-in movement. Students organized sit-ins at segregated lunch counters, libraries, and other public facilities, facing arrests, physical assaults, and intimidation. These efforts led to the desegregation of many public spaces and showcased the power of nonviolent resistance. 2. Freedom rides. In collaboration with the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE, SNCC participated in the Freedom Rides, which tested the Supreme Court's ruling in Boynton v. Virginia, 1960, outlawing segregation in interstate bus travel. Activists faced brutal violence, particularly in Alabama, where buses were firebombed and riders were beaten. Despite these dangers, SNCC members continued the rides, drawing national attention and prompting federal enforcement of desegregation laws. 3. Voter registration drives. SNCC's most impactful work was in voter registration, particularly in the Deep South, where African Americans were systematically disenfranchised. Projects like the Mississippi Freedom Summer, 1964, aimed to register black voters and establish freedom schools to educate African Americans about their rights. These efforts faced violent opposition, including the murder of 3 activists, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, in Mississippi. 4. The March on Washington, 1963. SNCC played a role in the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where John Lewis, then chairman of SNCC, delivered a powerful speech. While his original draft criticized the federal government for its slow progress on civil rights, pressure from other leaders led him to moderate his tone, reflecting tensions within the broader movement. 5. Shift toward Black Power. By the mid-1960s, frustration with the slow pace of change and continued violence against activists led SNCC to adopt a more militant stance. Under leaders like Stokely Carmichael, the organization embraced the concept of Black Power, advocating for racial pride, self-determination, and economic independence. This marked a departure from its earlier focus on interracial cooperation and nonviolence. Challenges and decline. SNCC's radical turn in the late 1960s alienated some supporters and led to internal divisions. The rise of other movements, such as the Black Panther Party, further diminished its influence. By the early 1970s, SNCC had largely disbanded, but its legacy endured as a symbol of youth-driven activism and grassroots organizing. Legacy and impact. The work of SNCC transformed the civil rights movement by emphasizing the importance of grassroots activism and empowering marginalized communities. Its efforts in voter registration laid the groundwork for increased political participation among African Americans, while its direct action campaigns challenged and dismantled systemic segregation. SNCC's legacy is also evident in its influence on subsequent movements for social justice. Its focus on empowering local communities and fostering leadership from within remains a model for activists worldwide. While the organization faced challenges and ultimately declined, its contributions to the fight for racial equality and social change are undeniable. Conclusion. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was a cornerstone of the civil rights movement, demonstrating the power of youth-led, grassroots activism. Through its courageous protests, community organizing, and commitment to justice, SNCC helped shape a transformative era in American history. Its successes and struggles offer valuable lessons on the challenges and possibilities of fighting for equality in the face of systemic oppression.